Wolf Pass, where lies the tomb of Hans Blix.
Hail, everyone! It is the Dork Lords. We have returned. Mr. Macklemore from his new home in St. Louis.
Yes.
Welcome, sir.
Unlike my previous home, which was not there.
Which was not there. We last did our top 3 guilty pleasure movies, if you recall.
In the sci-fi fantasy realm.
In the fi-sci. I just made up one. Today we're going to do our top 3 most ridiculous monsters in gamedom. So that can be any kind of game. Tabletop, board games, video games, games on your phone, arcade games, whatever, playground games, whatever. The most ridiculous monsters created for our entertainment. So, so with that, and I'm going to attempt to post pictures of all these. So theoretically they'll be up here somewhere.
Because some of them really just kind of need some visual representation.
Yes, they do. All right, so I'm going to lead us off. I'm starting with a world I'm very familiar with because I'm a dork. The world of D&D. Now there are tons of ridiculous monsters in D&D, mainly because as they went through, they were like Monster Manual 2. Fiend Folio, and the D's and Demigods. They had like all these books, and as they went through the books, they were like, "Oh, well, we can't do wolf anymore. Now we got to do wolf in sheep's clothing, for instance," which isn't the creature I'm going to tell you, but that's an honorable mention. Wolf in sheep's clothing is a tree stump with big teeth and eye stalks, and a fake bunny decoy on top of the trunk.
Well, that's fancy.
So it's like you walk up to feed, pet, trap, whatever, the rabbit, and then you find out, oh my god, this rabbit is a growth. And instead, you get enveloped by a giant stump. I
feel like, I haven't played a lot of D&D, but if I did, I feel like if the Dungeon Master's like, you walk through a wood, and you see a bunny, a cute, fluffy bunny, sitting on a stump, what do? My instinct is, leave the bunny alone.
Run far,
why would you tell me
away
about this bunny?
Yeah. So, all right, so that's a for instance. Honorable mentions, I'll try to run them quickly before I hit the pièce de résistance. Lava children. Lava children are essentially giant. They have giant caveman bodies and like elongated arms that kind of knuckle drag, and then their face is the face of Howdy Doody. And I don't mean it looks kind of like Howdy Doody. It's Howdy Doody. Freckles, permagrin, and they all look this way. They all have this
does it have like the marionette or like puppet style like mouth line? It's like
that's a good point. I don't think they have the puppet lines, the cracks for a marionette, but otherwise it's a Howdy Doody puppet face, just masked on a barbaric caveman thing. And it's it's like a stuff of nightmares. But that's a good one.
We'll be getting into nightmares. Don't worry.
Oh, okay then. Later, just a little spoiler alert. All right. There is the Flumph. The Flumph is essentially a floating plate with eye stalks, and it's awful good. And I think it just is there to annoy you. And it's called a Flumph. I don't know. All right. So that's another. This one I almost again made my number 1, but I didn't because the number 1 is so good. But the Rust Monster. This is from Monster Manual 1, the very first.
I think I've heard of the Rust Monster.
The Rust Monster is so delightfully specific. I mean, it's basic. It is totally designed to screw with whoever has armor in your party. So it's like, oh, you have a fighter with plate mail? Rust Monster. It's the it's like if it was a board game, it would be the go back 2 spaces card. Because it's all it really is. I always thought it would be fun to have like a game where you've got a rust monster, and then you go around the corridor, and there's a thieves' tools monster. I don't know, like disintegrates thieves' tools, and the bow eater that only eats elven longbows. Anyway, but so the rust monster. All right, now, but. There's
actually a monster in Final Fantasy. In Final Fantasy IV, you fight this thing that is the dark elf, and it like has this power where like you go to this cave and it has like magnetic. It's like the magnetic cave. So anytime anybody who's wearing armor or has any metal equipment at all, it like can't move until they take it off. So like you're just it's designed to make you hate that level.
Yeah, it's the right. Yeah, very similar. In this case, it's the oxidized monster. I don't know. Yeah, it's that. It has a propeller for a tail too. And a quick honorable mention should go to. I was a dork who had the Dragon magazine growing up.
Ah.
And in their April Fool's edition, they had the Galactic Dragon, which is because the Dragon magazine had some pull with TSR, and I believe some of their stuff, I don't want to call it canon, but theoretically it was kind of like, oh, that's in that magazine, you can use it. It was the most powerful creature ever created for D&D. It is the Galactic Dragon with 272 hit dice. It moves at the speed of light and shoots antimatter. Anyway, but again, that's the bizarre thing. Number one in my book, and the name is really what makes it so freaking ridiculous. It's the Flail Snail. So, it's a giant snail with a flail for a head. And you know, like, I am totally convinced that this monster was created name first.
Yes.
So, like, it wasn't like, oh, there's this striped cat and it runs through the wild and we'll call it a tiger. No, somebody's like, you know what we need? A flail snail.
Well, what's a flail snail?
Well, it's a snail with a flail's head, of course.
Done.
Done. I don't even know how it sees. I don't know, whatever. Anyway, it's a flail snail. They created that creature because it rhymes.
And I imagine it's easy to run away from that thing. I feel like that's not a particularly threatening creature.
True. Oh my god, it's a flail snail. He's coming this way. Slowly.
Eventually.
Let's just crawl this way. All right, anyway. All right, so there you go. The flail snail. That was my, after a long intro, my number one. So I now ping-pong it over to you, sir.
All right. So, my first pick comes from a game called Catherine.
I've not heard of this game.
You have? Okay.
I've not.
Catherine's a weird game. Oh, you have not? Okay. So it's like, it's kind of like a puzzle game. Like, you're trying to, like, move blocks and climb this thing, and, like, weird things are chasing you, but then, like, half the time you're hanging out, living your life. Like, this is all, like, in weird dream sequences in between your life, or hanging out in a bar, and there's two people named Catherine you're kind of dating. It's weird. It's a weird game. But...
Now, is it just like it's a visual game? It's not like a text-based game or something?
No, this is a, like, PS3 game. PS3, okay. Xbox 360 era game.
Got it.
And, so, like, whenever you're in the nightmare section, these weird, like, nightmare representations start attacking you. Things like, there's, like, the giant baby and baby with chainsaw, weird things. But the one that I chose here is the Immoral Beast. Okay. And the Immoral Beast, hopefully you'll get a picture of this thing, is basically like a naked woman chasing you ass first up this, like, stack of blocks you're climbing. But it has, like, eyes and a nose and then, like, a giant long tongue coming out. It is a weirdly shaped creature that is constantly coming after you. You're like, what?
So the eyes are on the butt? Is that
the eyes are on the butt cheeks.
Okay.
And then there's a nose further down, but then there's a mouth on the underside, and this big long tongue sticking out, and it's like chasing you feet first up this thing. It's some weird stuff.
Okie doke then.
So speaking of which, honorable mention also, to one of the creatures from the Shin Megami Tensei series, which is this Japanese series about, like, weird demons and things. And they have some really strange-looking creatures, such as Mara. And Mara is basically a penis with tentacles on a chariot. Interesting story about that, actually. While I was looking up a picture for it, I came across an article which was the most genital-related creatures from Shin Megami Tensei.
There were more than one.
There was a whole top 10 list.
Okay, then. A penis on a chariot. A penis chariot.
Penis chariot, yes.
Penis chariot. All right, there'll be a picture, probably.
There will be a picture of that.
You can keep that family show.
Behold,
sure.
There's that.
There's that.
There. We'll put it post.
Very good, very good. In post, yes. We'll put in the penis chariot. All right. Wow. The Immoral Beast. That was not expecting that one. All right.
Nope. Neither was
Okay.
I.
So the second one I've got is from the world of Pokemon Go.
Is it
And,
Pokemon Go or just Pokemon regular?
You can tell me if it's actually been in Pokemon Regular. I know
If,
for a
if,
fact
it's,
it's in
if it's
Pokemon
in Go, it's in regular.
Okay.
I'm a.
Oh, we lost you just for a second. Your feet. There you go. You're back.
Yep.
You're big into Pokemon itself. I started the
Oh, yeah.
Pokemon
Oh,
Go
yeah.
thing. I walk around Chicago like a dork and hatch eggs. All right, which is actually appropriate for this particular creature because it is the Execute.
Good old Execute, the
So
psychic grass type.
Execute. Well, now so it evolves into Executor, which
Yes.
is this grass. But the unevolved form is 6 cracked eggs with faces on them. Like it's not even a thing. It's like pile of shoes.
It's 6
Plate of
cracked
spaghetti.
eggs with faces on them that evolves into a coconut tree.
I mean, at least the tree is a single object. I mean, this is just like future omelet. I don't like it seems like the laziest creature that somebody could come up with. It's like, I don't know. Execute sounds like eggs.
The lazier, the later.
I'm the guy who came up with the Flail Snail. So Execute, get it? I don't know. Anyway, not a big fan of the Execute. Honorable mention goes to Bee Drill, which is essentially a bee with drill bits for hands.
Yeah, no.
Which they could even maybe make the stinger be a drill.
Yeah, I never thought that. Oh yeah.
I don't. Anyway, but I say Execute is my If we're
talking laziness in Pokemon, we have to give credit to the Pokemon Seal, which is a seal. It's got a horn, but it's a seal.
It's a seal. It's a seal. It's not a singer
if I had
seal either.
I had to throw in an honorable mention for Pokemon as well. It's a Generation 2 Pokemon. It is the Dunsparce.
Oh, okay. I've not heard of this.
No, it is the most useless, pointless thing ever. It's like a snake that's kind of flat, and has like a round bit in the middle, and this like drill on its tail, and these 2 little wings, and it does nothing. Like, it's a normal type, it doesn't do anything, its name doesn't make sense, there's no purpose, no one is like, oh yeah, I got a Dunsparce. No, nobody wants a Dunsparce. They're pointless.
You know, it's what you feel like when you have it. I feel like
why do I have this?
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, then I'm ping-ponging it over to you, sir.
Number two for me. So this is another. This is a later generation PS3 title I picked up recently a while back. It's called Killer is Dead, and it's from the creator Suda51. Who, if you ever, Suda51 makes really weird games, like weird stuff. I love them because they're bizarre and crazy. But I understand why a lot of people would. It's kind of like Terry Gilliam in the sense that it doesn't really like mainstream stuff, and if you like it, it's great. But it's weird.
Little Baron von Munchausen-ish.
Precisely. And so in this game, you are playing an assassin by the name of Mondo Zappa, and you have a fake arm and are from the moon and weird stuff.
Why not? Sure.
And your boss is cyborg, and you work in an assassination agency. And one of the levels, this weird evil energy is possessing things. And the creature you have to fight, the entire level takes place on this creature. It is basically an evil, demonically possessed Thomas the Tank Engine. That's what it is. His name is Tommy, and he's a train, and the evil energy seeps into him, and he's so angry that he's no longer being used to be a train anymore. So he goes crazy and gets angry.
Oh, that's almost sad.
And so you have to fight your way along this train, and you get to the engine room, and it's this big evil face and 2 weird eyeball things come out of it, and then a giant weird mouth head comes out, and it's some weird stuff, and it's I want revenge. And so it's if Thomas the Tank Engine went crazy.
Now, does he have any minions? Is there
There's minions you fight on the train.
Oh, I see. You are fighting on the villain.
Yeah, you're going on the train the whole time.
Oh,
yeah.
You're on his back.
Yeah, you're going through the thing and fighting off stuff and whatnot, and then you get to the front, and then you fight the head face thing.
The head of the demonic Thomas the Tank Engine.
Yes.
That's awesome. That's an excellent addition to ridiculous creatures. All right, we're up to my last one.
Boom.
This one is actually from a game inspired by D&D. I think actually it was also a TSR game. It came out in the 80s, and it was basically D&D saying, like, it's D&D in space.
Hey!
So it was called, well, there were a few of those, but this one was called
the StarCraft to the Warcraft.
Right, exactly. Right. It was the StarCraft to D&D's Warcraft. It was called Spelljammer. And I didn't play a lot of it, actually, because I was like, D&D on the ground! But this was D&D in space. And basically, it was like, oh, people get around in space via magic. Except for the race of gnomes, which, like, gnomes have... It's like, for instance, in World of Warcraft, they're synonymous with like steampunk technology.
Yeah,
they're the tinkerers now. So they had the same thing. Spelljammer had like the tinkerer gnomes, and so their spacecrafts were powered by giant wheels, powered by giant space hamsters. And so they had these ships powered by giant space hamsters and wheels. And the giant space hamsters were carnivorous and could attack and were very dangerous. And in fact, could eat you whole and then keep you in their little cheek pouches.
I'm fairly certain they had those in Earthworm Jim.
All right, very good. All right, well, maybe they had some inspiration. There was
Spelljammer.
There was one named giant space hamster.
Oh.
Who was kind of like, oh my god, the gnomes all feared this particular giant space hamster. And it was Woolly Rupert, the Tyrannohamstosaurus of ill omen. And you never wanted to run into Woolly Rupert because you were in trouble. That ever happened. Giant space hamsters. My last entry in the ridiculous monsters. Because the thing is, like, obviously that's a tongue-in-cheek thing, right? I mean, they're trying to be a little silly. Yeah. But the game wasn't tongue-in-cheek. So it's like, it's inserting this incredibly goofy premise into something that otherwise just like, look, man, the character's going to die if, you got eaten by a giant space hamster. Yep. So, anyway, awesome.
All right, so before I get to my final ones, I got a couple honorable mentions I want to throw out there, such as, for instance, there is, from the game Conker's Bad Fur Day, there is the Great Mighty Poo, who is a giant mountain of poo that sings a song. Pooh. No, this is a giant mountain of poo who sings a song about being poo, and then you fight him.
It's not Winnie the Pooh.
No, I can Pooh. The sad thing is I can sing you the entire song because I love this game.
Okay, you got to give me one line of the Pooh song.
I am the Great Mighty Poo, and I'm going to throw my shit at you.
Okay, then. All right.
That is the Great Mighty Poo.
That's the Great Mighty Poo.
Operatic Poo.
That's ridiculous. That is...
But it's a silly game, so I'm going to let that one slide a little bit.
All right.
Next, another honorable mention is... so in the original Donkey Kong Country game, most of the bosses you fight are like giant versions of other things. Like there's like the giant hamster, or the giant like beaver, or the giant vulture.
Space hamster.
One of them is an oil drum with a skull on it. Like somebody painted a skull on an oil drum, and you fight that. Like that's the boss.
It's Skeletor Oil Rig.
Just a drum. Somebody painted an angry face on a giant oil drum, and it fights you. Yeah. So there's that.
That's pretty awesome.
There's... All right, so another one. So from Dragon... If you ever play the Dragon Quest games, they're full of just silly monsters all the time. But one of the silliest ones is the Dancing Devil. And the reason it makes it so silly is he's this little devil, and he's like dancing around the whole time. And one of his moves is this little like happy dance where like dee, 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 ha. And like then you start dancing. Like it's just silly.
So he makes you. He gives you the uncontrollable dance spell
by doing his fancy little dance.
Gotcha.
So there's the Dancing Devil. All right, so my final character is from Final Fantasy, and I had to whittle it down between a couple Final Fantasy characters because there's a lot of ridiculousness in Final Fantasy. I chose not to go with the Cachouar, which is this is a Cachouar right here.
You've got an actual one.
Yes,
it looks like a cactus.
It's a cactus that runs around and shoots 1,000 needles at you. It's incredibly fast, and this is my son's. He loves Cachouars.
Oh. Cachouar. Is Cachouar named Cachouar, or is he?
Yes, named Cachouar.
Like
yes.
Mike the
But
Cachouar.
it doesn't move. Like it's always in this position. It just runs like this. And then there's the Jumbo Cachouar, which is the same thing, only giant and with a mustache.
I would have guessed. Okay. All right.
So that's pretty silly.
Yes, that is.
But the one that I'm going to go with is the boss of Final Fantasy V. So for the whole game, you're fighting this dude named X-Death. So, like, really...
X-Death.
X-Death, yeah. Like, apparently it was a translation error. It was supposed to be, like, Exodus, but translation in the 90s wasn't very good, so he's just X-Death.
Like the Japanese animated movie Harmageddon, which
There
was
you
supposed
go.
to be Armageddon, and they translated it, it was like, Harmageddon! Yeah, it's fine. All right, anyway, sorry. All right, yes.
But anyways, so the whole game through, you're fighting this dude named X-Death, and he's this, like, he shows up a bunch of times as this, like, dude in blue armor, and he looks like he's just plain evil. Like, his personality is, I am evil. Like,
He's Darth Vader.
like, no, even more than that. Like, he's, like, just a jerk evil. Just like, I hate everything, and I'm evil, and, like, I will tie orphans to train tracks because it amuses me. Like, he's just evil.
Okay.
Like, that is his personality type. And you go through the whole game, like, you know, dealing with him and whatnot, and at the very end of the game, you, like, get into, like, his weird pocket dimension that he resides in, and you see his true form, which is a tree. He is a very angry tree. And that is X-Death. Like, you get there, like, the middle of you fight your way all the way through his castle, and it's like, oh, look! Here's his true form! He's a tree!
Now, is
and
it a
he's
lush
mad about
tree? Is it a scraggly tree?
It's a big tree, and then he gets, like, a face in the middle of it, and it's like, evil face tree! And, like, you fight him in this boss fight, and it's like, there's, like, the blue armored dude, like, sticking out of, like, this really mad-looking tree. You're like, oh, okay!
What does the tree do? Does he swing his branches at you? How does he fight?
It's Final Fantasy because it's a static sprite that he, like, does magic and maybe bites you with something. I don't know.
He's a tree, damn
He's
it!
very unhappy about being a tree. He wants to, like, end the universe for being an angry tree. He's reordered, except instead of, you know, selling alcohol, he wants to end all existence.
Which is awesome. When you said Donkey Kong Country, that maybe I thought about Donkey Kong himself being, you know, in the list of honorable mentions. I mean, it's just a giant gorilla that throws barrels at a plumber. Like what?
On scaffolding, because, you know.
Because, you know, he's pretty... And his name is Donkey Kong. And so you're like, wait, is there a donkey part of this? Is he part donkey? But
I actually know... It was explained to Shigeru Miyamoto, the creator of Donkey Kong, that was an American slang for stupid, but it's not. So
I thought maybe like monkey. They wanted monkey and they got donkey, but okay.
This is a story. I'm not positive if that's true, but this is what I've heard because I'm a nerd. Hence why I'm on this podcast.
Like you're on Dork Lords. All right. Well, there you go. That's our top 3 most ridiculous monsters in gamedom. Mr. McLemore, I really appreciate you being here. Hey, guys, if you like what you see, hit like. We're going to have Mr. McLemore back for more top lists.
Yes.
Indeed.
Doing more stuff, talking about ridiculous things.
Now that he's firmly planted in St. Louis. So, yeah, hit like, hit subscribe if you want to get some more of these goofy videos in the future. And
do that.
For Dork Lords, I'm Matthew.
And I'm Rob.
Awesome. Fare thee well.
Good night, and dork on.